This conference will now be recorded.
So we have seen the importance of OBJ browse and we have seen the importance of report definition. No? So report definition, OBJ browse, not only OBJ browse activities, you can able to go for OBJ open also in order to pull the instance. And the data pages. These three are meant like a source from the data page, and this can be given as a source to the drop down. And if we go for activities, whatever the source we go, everything output will be as it is. There will not be any difference here. But if we go for activities, prpc has no intelligence to identify whether the existing page what is already there in the clipboard can be reused or not. Okay, that is the disadvantage. And how many times we are giving this activity as the source, those many times activity will be executed. So those many times the source rule meaning in the drop down will be giving as a source, no, either activity or data page or report definition. That source rule has to be executed and it has to hit the database and it has to generate the queries. It has to generate two types of queries, pre and post. It has to generate the queries and it has to interact with the database and it has to pull it back. Okay, it has to pull it back and it has to store it in the px results. So in all this whole process, it will be converting back to blob, and from blob to it will be converting to user readable format. Understood? No, in the first class what we have discussed, whatever the data we are seeing on the user interface, this is like human readable. Okay, but the data into this database will be stored into blob format or some other encrypted format. Now if I want to get the data from this data table like states or hospital, what I will be doing, I will be giving this as a source to the drop down. Whenever this particular section is being loaded, first source rule has to be executed. Getting my point? First source rule has to be executed, then source rule will be hitting the database, and in this process it has to it has to generate the queries. Once the queries are generated, it will be pulling the data from blob format. Once the data has been obtained in the blob, it has to convert itself into XML first, then it will be converting from XML to user readable format, and it will be putting all the multiple results in OOTB PX results. From there we will be using. So if it is for one time, it is acceptable, and if it is for millions of times, the process will be like big burden to the user prpc, no. So that's where we'll be having one cache mechanism. For that we'll be going for data pages. So you understood, no, what I'm trying to tell. So this is the whole process prpc has to follow in order to get one data from the database. So even with the report definitions also the same thing. If we are going with report definitions, the same process, it will be executing the source rule those many times, and it cannot able to identify the data whether it's already there in the clipboard or not. So if it is already there in the clipboard, it can directly reuse, but it is not doing like that. It is again hitting the database, it is again generating the queries, again hitting generating, I mean again executing the source rule, the same process. But compared to activities in report definitions are much lighter. Why? Because report definition there is nothing like customized. Understanding of both of you?
Yes, sir.
So let me open this report definition. So report definitions are nothing like customized. We will not be writing any extra code on top of this report definition. If we check here, we have created one report definition. So whenever I create one report definition, what I am doing, I'm just giving the property names. Okay, I'll be getting the data. But with the activities, I can able to get the two properties data by using obj browse, and before that I can able to create one page new method, and after that I can remove the page from the clipboard by using page remove method, and in between I can able to use the property set or anything. So in order to get the same data, if we go with activities, I can create in one format and you can create in another format. You might be creating in the best practice, I may not be doing in the best practice. So prpc is giving some control to us in terms of an activities. So that's why it might not be the best practice. But here with this report definition, although it is hitting the database those many times, but definition of this rule will be very light. First thing what we have to do, if I want to get one more property, I'll be just adding the region name. I cannot write anything like obj browse, or I cannot able to write anything like obj open. Okay, so user defined activities or user defined Java code will not be there here. obj browse and obj open are automated Java codes. No? Here we need not give any Java codes. directly it will be giving the class property name, and from there it will be pulling the data. So that's where report definitions are much lighter, even though it will be hitting database those many times. Compared to activities, this is much better. And based on the business requirements, there is importance for the activities. So if I want to get the data from external database, so with this report definition, what I told you, we can able to get the data which is there in this class only. So that's what will be creating with the new report definition in that class. Suppose if I want to get the states values which is in this class, can I create this report definition in the hospital value or in the work class group, framework class group? I cannot able to do that. From which class I want to get the data, in that class only we can able to get the report definition. Okay, but that's not the case with the activities. If I create one activity into the states value, and I can able to get the data from hospital page also. Okay, that's the importance of activities. And if I want to show some drop down values using activities which is there in my external database, so this is our internal database now, and there will be cases where I have to connect with external databases also, like civil score application or any other application. Then what I should be doing, I will be using activities, and I will be going for RDB methods. RDB methods, I'll explain those. Okay, in that case we will be getting all the data from external database using activities. So there, that's for the business requirement, we go for activities. And with the report definition, if I want to get two different tables data also is possible. So here, as of now, this report is responsible for pulling the data of state name and state code, which is of this class. Okay, in the same report definition, if I want to get state name, state code, and hospital list. So if I want to get the data from other class also, which is in the prpc only, okay, even that also possible. For that, we have to go for joins. These are all the three joins. We'll work on this in the coming classes. So joining is possible for with report definition, but there is no such joining possible with activities. So based on the business requirement, there is no much advantage or there is no much disadvantage with each and every rule. So every rule will be considered equally. Based on the business requirement, that importance will be coming to us. But now the final disadvantage in this scenario, in the drop down scenario here is, although we are getting the data onto the clipboard, this is not having any mechanism to identify whether this particular page is already there or not. So if one full states report definition data, report definition is already there in my clipboard, and now I cannot able to use that report definition data, I mean the clipboard page data, as a source. In order to show it as a source, it is again running the report definition, it is again interacting with the database, it is again converting its format, finally it will be storing it to the database again, sorry, clipboard again, as a new page. So PR report definition and the activities has no mechanism to identify whether the data is already there or not. So that's why we go for data pages. So data pages are like an cache memory. Cache memory meaning it has a mechanism to identify whether that particular page is already there on the clipboard or not. If it is there, then it can able to use the data for n number of times. For million times also it can able to use it. If the data is not there, then what it will be doing, it has to interact with the database again, it has to generate the queries, it has to pull the data, in between it has to perform some conversions, and finally it will be storing onto the clipboard. So this process will be done only one time. But if I am using with activities or report definition, if I'm running the work object for 1 million times a day, then it will be hitting the database for 1 million times with report definition or with activities. But with data pages, it will be hitting database for only one time, even though if we are running 1 million work objects per day. So in all this whole process, we are bypassing most of the things. We are bypassing 1 million times execution of source rules, 1 million time execution of generating database queries, 1 million time execution of, 1 million time source conversions, and 1 million time creating the data pages, creating the pages on the clipboard, and 1 million time pulling the data from clipboard to the user interface. So this whole process has been bypassed. Why? Because data page as a mechanism to just check whether that page is already there on the clipboard or not. So that is the only thing with the data pages. It can able to store the data for a longer period of time. If you want to delete it forcefully, or if you want to set it for only certain period of time for the security reasons, that's up to us. That's completely under developer control. Okay, and if I want to use this for longer period of time, we can able to define. So based on that data what we are trying to pull, that scope will be defined. Scope meaning time, let us say. So the scope lifetime will be defined. Suppose if I want to use one data page in this kind of scenario, like pulling states values, so state value will be like no security, no, every developer can able to use that. Okay, so then there I can able to define for 5 days or 6 days, 7 days. Even if I'm trying to create the work object for 7 days, like 1 million times per day, like 7 million times, so I can able to use this data page for 7 million times. I can able to skip all this process. That is the mechanism with data page. So prpc will be always encouraging us to go for data pages only, not only with the report, sorry, it will not encourage us to go for report definitions also. If we get a chance to work with data pages, it will be recommending us to go with data pages. So that's where data pages are the automated rules that will be created when we're creating one data type or data table. So whenever I'm creating this particular data table or data type, prpc will be creating 3 data pages. So this is, each one is a data page. If we go for, let me pin this, you should be getting pin mark here. If not, just refresh this. So if I just pin this, it will be coming here. So parallel, I can able to use check for hospital values as well. So hospital is one data table created, and here also I should be getting databases created. So why prpc is creating 3 different data pages, and what is the importance of data pages? That's what we'll see now. So if we just check for the section, I mean the drop down value, understanding now both of you? So Tulani, you know the importance of these data pages? You worked on these data pages anytime?
No, Chandra, I haven't. I never got a chance to like implement, or like when I was defect fixing, I had chances like fix these type of defects, like concatenating stuff, but I
Cascade.
never got to it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Cascade. Yeah.
Yeah, understood, got it. So you don't know much concept about
No.
data pages. Then okay,
No.
let me explain it. No problem. So if you see here, data page is also one of the source for drop down. Okay, if I select this, we have to give one data page name and we have to give the property value. Everything seems to be same. So this is one of the source. So ultimately, data pages will be created if we want to get the data from that particular class. Okay, and I want to get the data, prpc will be automatically identifying that this class is having some storage, and in order to pull the data from that class, we have to go with data pages. So that's why it will be creating like this. If we create any of the data class without storage, like basic details in the first class we have created, no, so there is no storage for that. So that's why no data pages are not, sorry, data pages are not there. And if we want to create any of the data page, we can able to create in that class also. Wherever from whichever the class we want to pull the data, we can able to create data page. Okay, even on this framework class group also you can able to create. So this will be there under data model. Where is it? This is the data page. So if we have any data created on in this class, if I want to pull the data of all the work objects and corresponding operator name, let us say, then I can able to fetch the data using obj browse activities, and I can able to use the report definitions. If you want to get the data using report definitions, you have to create the data report definition in this class, and we can able to create the data pages also. So wherever we have storage, and if we want to pull the data from that class, and if we feel that data what we are pulling it today, if we want to use it for longer period of time, we go for data pages. So ultimately data page is like an continuous storage. With the report definition or with anything, if we just refresh it, or if we just log off and log in back, and a page, I mean data will be temporary basis, but with this data page it will be having cache mechanism where it can able to hold for longer period of time. If I create one data page, when I was creating with one work object, page will be created, it will be storing. And if I create another work object, I can able to use the same page. If I just log off and log in, or if another operator is there, suppose we three are one team, if I just create the data page, you can also able to use it. I should be defining the scope of that. I'll explain all this, no problem. So for every class, for every data class, there will be 3 data pages. So the first thing, let me click on that. Let me close all this. So this is one data page, and click on this second data page. And this is the data page that has been introduced from 8 version only. So this is meant for robotics. So if I just click on this, we can able to use these data pages when we're working with databases and external RPA. Okay, so this will not be widely used. First two data pages will be most widely used from 6 versions only. This has been introduced from this latest version like 8. So let us discuss about all this. So we are seeing like d underscore hospital and d underscore hospital list. Why are we getting list at the end and savable at the end, and there is nothing like hospital? And from where are we getting this name defined? Based on the class name what we are giving. Just check for the states also here. Based on the class name what we are giving, prpc will be defining 3 data pages, one with normal class name and one with class list, one with class savable. The purpose here is first we will discuss about the first one like d underscore hospital. So every data page should be given with this format d underscore. If you are creating any new data page in this class or any other class like our basic details data class, data page name should be this format. If you are not giving this format, prpc will be automatically taking this value as an identifier. So ultimately you cannot able to save the data page without d underscore. So this is just for our differentiation purpose. Not only for differentiation, earlier before version number 7, from version number 7, data pages naming convention has been given with d underscore. But before versions, before 7 like 6 or 5 or 4 or anything, data pages are used to call as an declare pages. Okay, so any of the data page which were created in the version number 6 or 5, they used to have the naming like declare underscore hospital, declare underscore hospital list. Okay, but now here on they're maintaining it like from version number 7 only they're maintaining like d underscore. Okay, and if I want to just create one new data page, let me show you. So it is automatically giving the identifier value, no, without giving any value, it is directly showing d underscore. So if I just click on edit also, we can able to rename this. I mean, we can able to give the value like this, but we cannot able to take this value. See, automatically it is coming here with d underscore. If I just click on edit and trying to remove this, save, I mean, create and open, what it is showing? Page name must start with prefix declare underscore or d underscore. So prpc will be accepting both the prefixes like declare underscore d underscore. Why? Because there might be projects which were started with version number 6 and they might be migrating it to 7 or 8, but version number 7 and 8 will be accepting d underscore only, and before version they used to have declare underscore. So just for the migration support, prpc will be accepting declare underscore also into the version numbers 8. Okay, so there will be rules, data page rules with declare underscore with version number 6. If that particular project want to migrate to version number 8, Pega version number 8, all the data pages are with declare underscore, no, and they cannot able to sit with each and every rule and they cannot able to rename all this. So that's why during for the migration purpose, prpc will be accepting declare underscore also. Okay, understood? So now, so that's the prefix here. Every database should be having d underscore, and this is one database that has been created with the class name. This is another page which is created with list at the last. Let me open this also. Okay, have already opened. So the purpose of this particular data page like d underscore cap hospital is to pull only one instance at a time. So this is just similar to obj open. So if I'm using obj open, I should be giving the class name, this class name like hospital. With this obj open, what we can able to get, we will be getting only one instance at a time. Okay, and if I want to get the multiple instances with activities, we will be going for obj browse. The similar thing here. So this particular data page is for pulling only one instance from this particular data class, and this particular data page like d underscore hospital list, this is to pull multiple instances. So from this data class like hospital data, if you want to get only single instance, you will be using this data page. And if you want to get multiple instances, you should be going with this data page. So in this scenario, like pulling multiple instances like state values or hospital values, we should be going with this data page. You agree? If we are using this, we will be getting only one value like AP or TN or anything. We should be getting only one value with this. And in order to get the multiple instances, we should be going for list data page. And this is for the savable meaning if you want to save any data to the database, or if you want to interact with the robotics like RPA, we will be going for this. So most of the projects will not be using this. Only these two are very important and familiar. Even interviews also, they will be asking you most questions on this page and list. There will be many interview questions on this data page, and try to concentrate now. So this is the data page. Now if I give this data page, this is the page list. If I give this data page as a source, now let me run and see. So report definition is automatically created rule. No, if I just run this directly, we can able to get the data. Getting my point? Similarly, data page and data list, data pages are also automatically created as part of this class creation. We can just simply run and see. No, let me run. So run this. I want to get the multiple instances. That's why I'm running list page. And if we scroll down, there will be something like px results. Why? Because we are getting multiple instances. No? So identify the px results. So what you have to identify? So data page or page list, data page or report definition or the obj browse activities. If it want to show the multiple instances, everywhere it is using px results OOTB page list only. That is px, this one. So wherever prpc has to show multiple instances, it will be using this OOTB page list. So expand the first one, we can able to see the data. So these three are the user defined data now: hospital name, hospital code, and state value, and rest all OOTB. And this is for the second one. Okay, this is working fine. So why are we, I mean, how this is opened, hospital name. Wherever you see the property, either in the clipboard or here in this px results or anywhere, if you see any of the properties like this, okay, if you want to just click on this, just click, it will be automatically opened in the prpc. So the same thing with tracer also. Tracer, if you see one activity has been executed, and if you cannot able to check the activity, just click on that activity. That will be automatically opened in the Designer Studio. If I just click on this, that particular property rule has to be opened out. Okay. So this is working fine. I can able to give this as an source to this, that is hospital. No? I'm trying to give this as a source to this hospital value. So I'm just giving the data page, and I want to use the multiple instances. Now for that I want to go for hospital list. So just click on down arrow, hospital list. This is the value I have to select, and click on property name, and this is for the display purpose. So submit and save. Now I am running the new work object ID. So let me check the clipboard. So page will not be created in this first page only. Why? Because whenever this section is loading, this control has to be loaded, and this has to execute the source rule. Here source rule is one data page. Okay, so in this till we come to this page will not be created in the clipboard. That is my expectation. I'm clicking on submit, going to the next screen, again going to the next screen. And now if we just check in the clipboard, there will not be any page like this data page. This is the source now. This data page has to be created on the clipboard. So that will be created only when this list scores is being executed. So in order to execute this list scores, this section and flow action has to be loaded. Now if I just click on submit button, the source rule has to be executed and data page rule has to be executed, and that particular data page has to be stored into clipboard. So output is fine. So now I'm just clicking on clipboard whether that particular page has been created or not. So just remember, when we are creating data pages, it will be created under data pages category. So if we just collapse everything, there will be 4 categories. So what are the pages we are working on, like PY work page or any user defined pages or PY activity pages or state list or hospital list, anything, or report definition pages. Everything will be under user pages category. Now we are working with data pages. So whenever this section is loading, source will be loaded and the source is responsible for running this data page. So whenever we are running this data page forcefully, like actions and run, the same thing will be taken by this control. So it will be running the data page. So once the data getting ready onto the data page, we can able to pull it back. So ultimately data has to be stored into the clipboard. So from clipboard only it has to pull it. Now it has to be stored into clipboard somewhere. All the data pages by default will be stored under this data pages category. So expand this data pages and open the thread. As of now, I'll tell you what is the thread and just check for the page name. What is the page name we have given? D_hospitalist. So this is the data page. So this data page is referring to which class? Code Pega list, meaning it is internally having one PX results OOTP page list. So just expand this. This is the OOTP page list, and expand this. We can able to see all the results. So PX results of 1. So we can able to see the value here. State code, hospital value, hospital name. Like state 2, state 3. I mean result 1, result 2, everything. So understood? So here, if we just click on this, what it is doing? PX results of count is the same, and PX SQL statement pre is executed, post is executed, everything. So everything seems to be same. So one page has been created, it has been creating one pre-SQL statement query, and then it will be converting it into post, and finally it will be storing all the data onto PX results. So as of now, did we find any difference? No difference at all. So the difference what we observed is those pages, report definition or activity, will be stored into this category and data page will be stored into this category. So that is the only difference as of now. So did we find any other difference? Nothing, no? Now let me show you the difference. I'm closing this. Okay. Now click on submit. So we are done with this work object ID. C33 has been ended. Now I'm trying to create new work object ID. Sorry, let me show it here. Okay, I have closed this. Okay, I'm trying to create new work object ID. Now click on submit. So by the time, let me check in the clipboard. I'm just trying to check in the clipboard. Go to data pages and thread and hospital list. So is there any page like that? There is no page, no? Okay. So now just click on submit and again submit. And now by this time we should be getting that particular data page created. So just refresh it. Sorry, I can click on clipboard. So this is for the thread C34. We can able to see thread hospital list. So we are seeing the results now. Now what I'm trying to say is refresh. I'm refreshing. Again I'm refreshing. So again I'm refreshing. So total we have refreshed 3 times, and for the first time it's already loaded. So we should be getting 4 different data pages created. I mean 4 times the same data page created, as per our knowledge what we have with report definition and the activities. Now again click on the clipboard. So open the data pages, go to thread and hospital list. So how many pages we are identifying? We are getting only 1 page now. So did we get 4 pages? No. So whenever we are refreshing, why prpc is not creating one new page? Because during the time of refreshing, what it will be doing, it will be loading this section again. Okay, it will be coming to this control. So whenever it comes to this control, it has to identify the source. So source has to be executed. And what is the source? Data page. What is the name of the data page? Hospital list. So before executing this source rule, prpc will be identifying whether this particular data page is already there on the clipboard or not. So this page is already there on the clipboard, D_hospital list. So this page is already there on the clipboard, and that's why execution will not happen. So source rule will never be executed if this particular data page is identified in the clipboard. Identified meaning data page, it will be identifying whether any of the page with this name is there or not. If it is there, source will not be executed. If the source is not executed, pre-query will not be built out, and post, there is no question of going for post query, and there will not be any conversion of data from blob to our XML format. Not only blob, it might be in another format. So there will not be any conversion, and it need not create the new page, erasing this existing page, and it will not it need not again append the data. So this whole process has been skipped out by the intelligence of this data page. So the data page is an stored mechanism. It is having some intelligence where it can able to skip the source rule to be executed. If I use report definition or the activities, if I refresh this, all the time the source rule will be executed. Whatever the thing we are seeing in the for the first time, every time the same process will be continued. But with data page, before executing the source rule, it will be just checking in the clipboard under data pages category whether this particular data page is already there or not. If it is there, it will not again refresh. I mean, it will not again execute the source rule. Executing the source rule meaning it has to execute this again, which will not be done if this particular data page is already there on the clipboard. So that is the importance of this data page. Understood now? Now I can able to use this data page wherever I want. Why? Because on the clipboard we can able to see the data page. No? If I go to the next screen, if I'm trying to use the same control there, okay, if I am trying to use this same hospital control in the next screen, so there also section has to be loaded, source has to be executed, and source, if it is identifying it as a data page, it has to first check whether the d_hospital list data page is already there or not. If it is there, it will be directly copying the data from there and display it here. It will not again run the source rule. Likewise, I can able to use this data page, existing data page, in n number of places for n number of times. Got it? So that's the importance of data page. Now if we are giving this as a source like d_hospital value, we can able to get only single instance. So even that also if we are trying to get single instance, that has to be stored in the clipboard with this page name like d_hospital. Under this page there will be like d_hospital, and even that page also will be there permanently. Understood, both of you? That's why we go for data pages. In order to skip these many times interacting with the database, prpc will be completely suggesting us to avoid to go for other rules when we can able to go for data pages. Understood, both of you? So any confusion, Uma and Talani?
Yeah, not confusion. So you said the hospital list, so that means it have the group of instance, but here the hospital is a single instance.
This one. So you forget about this as of now. In our requirement, we will not use this. If I want to get only the single instance, let us say if I want to search with one employee ID. So there is one case where you have to search with employee ID. So you and I are employees in one organization. What I will be doing, I will be searching with your employee ID. Then what I should be getting the instance, I should be getting the results of your name only. So that is like only one instance. Okay. So in that case, in order to get only single instance where as per the business requirement, we will be going for with this one page structure like d_hospital. Just like obj open, in order to get single instances, we have to go for obj open or d_hospital. This page structure, and this we call as a list structure, list data page, and this is page data page. And in our requirement, what I have to do is I have to get the multiple instances. Multiple instances meaning I have to get the list of all the hospitals where that seems to be more than one record. No, then I have to go with list source. This is the one. So ultimately there will be two types of data pages mainly. and this is to get only single instance from this class, and this is to get multiple instances from this class. In our requirement is I have to display multiple states and multiple hospitals in this drop down. Okay, I should not be displaying only one state value and one hospital value. If that is the case, I will be going for D underscore hospital. I mean this kind of data page, either this or this as per the requirement. And in this kind of scenario where I have to pull multiple instances, I will be going with this one. Understood, Uma? If you practice, I think you can able to get this cleared out.
Okay, sure.
Any confusion, I can explain if you want. Why? Because this is very important topic. That's why I'm keep on stressing the most important things.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
as per my understanding, like for example, you said no, like a employee ID, we have each person have the single ID. But if we have the hospital and the same employee ID created with a different
Okay. One
hospital
thing.
name,
You
that
forget about
way
that
we are
example.
creating multiple instance, right?
Yeah, Uma, 1 second, Uma. You forget about that example. It might be a bit confusion for you. And now my application is this one. This is the policy insurance application. And during first time, I want to provide this insurance service only to the people who are in Tamil Nadu. By default, I am providing it to all the states. But now my requirement here is I want to provide this application service only for Tamil Nadu. Then what you will be doing? I want to display only one instance, no, like Tamil Nadu. Then what you will be doing? You will be going for this instance, D underscore states data page. If we go for this, we will be getting only one instance pulled out. Getting my point? Suppose our application like CHG is providing insurance service only for the people who are staying in Tamil Nadu. So in that case, the state drop down value has to be displayed with only one value, and that's like a single instance. So if in order to display single instance, either AP or Tamil Nadu or Kerala, anything, what might be the value? If you want to display only single instance, you will be go with this approach. And if I want to provide for multiple services, like more than one, it will be like using this kind of structure, D underscore state list.
Okay.
Now it's clear?
Yeah, now I got it. Yeah.
Okay. So Tulani, you understood?
Chandra, one question. So here using data pages, we are hitting the database only one time, right? So
Yes.
if we think of a scenario like every 1 hour or so, if the database get like refreshed with new data, we can't use this data pages, right?
Then we will be going with this refresh strategy. I'll explain this. No problem. So in this class only, I'll explain each and everything. So what is this thread in the clipboard? Why are we going for this thread structure? I'll explain this. I'm trying to finish the whole topic in this class only. It will be like continuous for you. So as of now, it's clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So now, whatever the data page I have created, it is in the clipboard. So it is stored in the D underscore hospital list. This is the one. Now, let me create one more work object ID. I'm trying to click on clipboard. So are we finding the data page now? No. So I want to go to the fourth screen. So again click on clipboard. So now we are seeing the data page created. So whenever this particular section is being loaded, we are generating one new database queries. Source rule is getting executed, and we are getting this page loaded. So for each and every work object ID, it is hitting the database. Okay. But the purpose of we creating data pages, this will be meant for reusability. So if this is my approach, if I am in the continuous one work object ID, so now let me click on submit. and again clicking on clipboard. I'm still in this work object ID only. You can able to see it here. So now if I'm clicking on clipboard, so are we finding it? We are finding it. So what are we understanding now? So whatever the data page that is created as part of the screen number 4, we are finding it in the screen number 4 and we are finding it in the screen number 5, and we can able to find it in how many number of screens we have. So ultimately the life of this data page is within that thread only. Thread meaning work object ID. If I'm trying to create the new work object ID, are we finding the data page created? There is no such data page. If we go to fourth screen, then again it is interacting with the database, again it is pulling the data. Okay, so by default what are we observing here is the data page is creating for each and every work object ID. Whenever we create the work object ID, it is again following the same process. But within the same work object ID, if I want to use this database for multiple times, it is possible as of now. Okay, but if I'm trying to create new work object ID, again the same thing meaning there is no page onto the clipboard. Clipboard is completely refreshed, the data page is completely removed off, and whenever we coming to this particular drop down value of the next work object, then this section will be, this data page will be loaded and we can able to see the data. So ultimately the life of this data page is within that particular thread only. Thread meaning work object ID. So did we observe? And if I am trying to use this drop down into my next 10 screens of this particular work object ID, the purpose of we going for data page will be good. Why? Because I need not run the source code for 10 different times within the work object. So that will be defined. Now, okay, now as of I understood now, suppose if I want to have the data page to be stable continuously, I want to have this drop down values like state and hospital values in all the work object IDs. I will be using this for each and every work object ID. And if I just maintain that data page in the clipboard throughout all the work object IDs, then it will be much easy for me, even for the prpc, I cannot able to hit the database those many times. So as of now, work object life has been defined to that particular thread, and now as per my business requirement, if I want to maintain that data to all the work object IDs, meaning what are all the work object IDs I am creating, if I want to use the same data which is created for the first time, then we can able to change the scope of this. Okay, so by default whatever the data page we are seeing, it will be of thread scope. Thread meaning this particular data page has to be stored when we are only in that particular thread. Thread meaning work object ID only. Now if this particular data page is being created in the work object ID like ch0-36, and in the clipboard this data page will be stored only if we are there in this particular thread. So for the security reasons, if I don't want to save this data which is pulled as part of that work object ID into the next work object ID, then we will be making this as a thread scope. So the thread scope meaning this data page life will be there only if we are in that particular thread. So in that particular thread, if I'm trying to create 50 screens or 100 screens, this data page can be used. Why? Because this scope has been defined as thread level. You understood this thread level, no? Now, whatever the data, now as per my business requirement. Now, as per my business requirement, I have to pull the state value and hospital value. And this value seems to be common, and I want to use the same data page data which is created in the work object 1 into my next 10 work object IDs. So that is my that is my correct approach. The way I'm thinking is good only. Why? Because the data I want to use it again and again. So instead of hitting the database again, if I can able to maintain that particular clipboard page across all the work object IDs, then I can able to reuse it. In that case, what you have to do is you have to change the scope to requester. So if you just change the scope to requester and click on save. Okay, now let me run your work object ID. So click on clipboard. By this time there should not be any data page created. So d_hospital list data page is not there. Why? Because we are not executing the source rule even for the one time also. So I'm just clicking on submit. Click on submit. Okay, so this rule has been executed, source rule has to be executed, and it has to create the new work object ID. So before executing the source rule, this one, before executing the source rule, whenever this flow action is loaded, the source rule has to be executed. Before executing, it will be just checking under data pages category whether this page is there or not. If it is not there, then it will be following the same. If it is not there, what it will be doing? It will be running this data page. It will be pulling all the data from the data pages, sorry, data types. It will be generating the queries. It will be storing the data onto the clipboard page with this name. If the data page is not there on the clipboard, if the data page has been identified as existing, then it will be reusing this. Now what I'm trying to say is, we have just tried to create one new work object ID and we have created the source. And before loading this particular drop down, prpc will check whether d_hospital_list data page is there or not. So previously we have just checked that particular data page is not there, and this drop down is responsible for creating the new data page by hitting that source. Now if I just click on clipboard, I should be seeing that source. Are we finding anything? No. Why are we not finding? Uma and Tulani, can you guess?
We are searching in the thread level.
Yes. We have to search in the requester now. So whatever the data pages we have in the thread, that will be of that particular work object ID only. And now this is the database that has been given as a source, and the scope is defined for the requester. So if I have to just now check in the requester. Check for the hospital list. You can able to see it here. Okay. The same thing. And now just click on submit. So we are in the same thread now. If you just click on clipboard, data should be there. Now I'm trying to create new work object ID. Now click on clipboard. So earlier what we have seen, if we create new work object ID, data page is not there. Now this is for CHG38, that is the new work object ID. So go to data pages and go to the requester. We are still finding this. Now I can able to use this now. Now if I just click on submit, go to that particular screen. Before loading this particular drop down, prpc will be just checking whether that particular data page is already there or not. So it will be identifying now. It will be identifying this particular data page is there. Then it will not execute the same source rule. It will not execute. It will not hit the database. It will not. It need not pull the data again. Why? Because this particular data page is already there. So it will be just copying the data from there and it will be displaying it here. Create n number of work object IDs. Okay. If we create some millions of work object IDs also, per day it will be storing only only one time. Per day it will be just hitting the database for only one time. Understood? By default, whatever the data page that is created on clipboard, it will be stored for only 24 hours. By default, if we leave this and if you try to create the work object ID tomorrow by this time you will be finding the data. You'll be finding the data page onto the clipboard. Maybe after 10 minutes, like after exact 24 hours, like 23 hours 59, we should be seeing this data page automatically erased from the clipboard. Then if you're trying to create any of the new work object ID after 24 hours, what it will be doing? It will be again executing whenever it comes to this section, it will be loading this drop down value. Before that, it has to execute the source rule, and by this time there will not be page onto the clipboard. It has to hit the database again. It has to pull the data and it will be storing onto the clipboard. And that particular data can be used for next 24 hours. This is by default. And if you want to restrict for 1 hour or 2 hours or 5 days, 10 days, that's under developer control. We'll discuss about that. Now we understood, no? I can able to use this data page data for million times within 24 hours. It will not be hitting the database all the time. Now let me log off and logging back. Okay, so I'm trying to create one new work object ID. Now I'm just clicking on clipboard. So this is for CHZ 39, correct? Open this data page. So the data page, what we're trying to give the source is under requester tab. So are we finding anything like D underscore hospital list? No. Click on submit, go to that particular screen. Now click on clipboard again. So now we are finding. So the thing what you observed here is, if we define any of the data page as thread, then that particular data page life will be there by default 24 hours, or if you are trying to close the work object ID, okay, whichever is earlier. And now if I'm trying to change the work object scope to requester, requester meaning operator only. I am one operator. I am the operator who is requesting for that particular data page. Why? Because I am running this work object ID and I am trying to make this source as an source executable, and I'm trying to make this data page executed as per this source. So I am one requester. Requester is nothing but operator only. So I am one requester. So any of the data page which is requested by the requester, that will be there in that particular requester clipboard only. So I am the requester. My clipboard will be different to Uma's clipboard, and it will be different to Tulani's clipboard. Now if I just create any of the work object ID and that particular data page is of requester level, then the data page will be created and it will be accessible to all the work object IDs within my requester level. Getting my point? Only the data page data will be accessible only with my login. With Uma's or Tulani's login, it will not be there. So if they want to create new work object ID, they has to run work object ID from their end, and they has to create the new so they has to create the new database from their end. You can able to just check. In your clipboard, database will not be there unless you go to fourth screen, this screen. Before third screen or second screen, you will not be finding any of the data page created. Now if we just create the data page for first time and create new work object ID and create some millions of work object IDs on the same day, like within 24 hours, you can able to see that particular data page created for 24 hours with your operator name. So the life of this requester data page will be of 24 hours by default, or if the requester is logging off, or if we are trying to restart the server. So if it is observing any of these three cases, data page will be lost. Understood? So what are all the work object IDs that particular requester is requesting? Only for that requester, this data page will be available. For any of the other requester, data page will not be there. Okay. Now, whatever the data page, whatever the data I'm trying to display, like hospital value or state value. So this seems to be common. I'm trying to create some millions of work objects per day. For that, what I have done is I have changed the work object, I have changed the data page scope to requester from thread. Earlier it was thread. Now I'm trying to change it to requester so that it made very easy for me. I can able to use this particular database data for 1 million times. Similarly, Uma and Tulani, you both also trying to create the work object IDs 1 million times per day each. Okay. Now, out of these 3 million work objects per day, we are trying to hit database for 3 times. Why? Because the same work object ID, the same data page, what we are giving this as a source, that has to be executed for one time with my operator login, one time for Umas, and one time for Tulani's. So out for this 3 million work object times, we are executing this data page for 3 times. Likewise, if I have some hundreds of workers, so like some hundreds of employees in my organization, and each and every employee is trying to create 1 million times each, then what it will be doing, it has to create some 100 different data pages. If I have 100 employees, I have to create one data page one time. It will be hitting the data page it will be hitting the database, and you have to create one data page from your end, and likewise 100 people has to hit the database for 100 times. In order to display the same data, like the state value and the hospital value, which seems to be very common and generic across all my employees, then what I can able to do, if I just make this work object, if I make this data page available to all my people in my organization, that will be still more easy for me, even for prpc. Instead of it hitting 100 times per day, it can able to hit for one day, sorry, for one time, if I can able to reuse it to all my organization people, then it will be much easy for prpc. So for that, we have to again change the scope to so we're doing it for hospital now. So we have to again change the scope to node level. There is one more node there. Sorry, there is one more scope there. That is node. Okay. Okay. We have to understand this. I'll tell you. So we have to make this as a node level. Node level meaning whoever all connected to this particular server. Node meaning one server kind of thing. So there will be one prpc server. Each and every organization will be having one server, and who are all connected to that server. Like we three are employees, like 100 employees are there, and all these employees are connected to one server. Now whoever the first operator out of this 100 employees, if the office starts at 10 a.m. and I come to office at 9:30 a.m. let us say. If I come to office at 9:30 a.m. and if I'm trying to create at least one work object ID like this, then before executing this before coming to this screen, source rule will be executed and it will be hitting the database. It will be hitting the database and pulling the data onto the clipboard. Okay, and whatever the data that has been hitted for one time and storing it in the clipboard, that will be stored in node level. If I change the scope, it will be storing the data here under this node level. Now if I make this to be stored in the node level, if I just log off, or if I it will be accessible to all the operators who are connected to this particular node. Okay, so if I create it in the requester, irrespective of number of work object IDs, based on the requester login, this page will be accessible. And irrespective of the requester, if I create the data page with this node scope, it will be accessible to all the employees who are connected to that particular node. Okay, if I create any of the work object at 9:30, this data page will be created in the node level. Even if I am logging off or logging in, anything, what might be the action from my end, it is not at all bothered. It will be created in the node scope. So whatever the data page I have in the node scope, the same data page will be there in your node scope also. I mean your clipboard also. Why? Because we both are connected to one node. So that's the importance. If I just create any of the data page with this node level, then if I create some hundreds of work objects per day, like you may create few, I may create few, likewise it will be across the node level. Whoever the employee creating any of the work object ID created to the particular node, they can able to access it. Okay, prpc will not be running the source rule again and again. So before loading this data page drop down, what it will be doing is it will be just checking that d_hospital list is there in the scope in the node level or not. If it is there, it will be just copying the data. If not, it will be creating the new work object ID, like the case what I'm trying to do at 9:30 a.m. So these three are the important scopes. You understood, no? So if I'm making this as a node, it is throwing one error. I have to give the access group. Access group meaning, so to the access what I will be having. So I'll be given access as a manager, or I will be given access to one implementation application, and you might be given access to one implementation application. So who are all connected to that particular access group, this node scope will be defined. So we'll be working on this access group for 1 hour in the coming classes, then we can able to understand. So as of now, we understand that like node will be of server level. So you understood, no? So these three are the scopes of data pages, and interview they will be asking you questions like this. So they will not be asking you single question out of our discussion. Everything they will be asking you these kind of things only. Why? Because we're trying to spend enough time with these data pages. You understood, no? Both of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So shall we continue or shall we drop off? We have to discuss about this modes as well, and we have to discuss about this load management also. Shall we continue in the next class?
Yeah, we can continue in the next class, Chandra.
Yeah, okay. Understood, no, both of you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I understood.
Actually, I thought of explaining all the things and I thought of showing the practicality also, but I think we explained much time. We took much time today, I think, for the explanation only. So do you feel that we are trying to tell each and everything in the repetitive way? Nothing like that, no? You comfortable with our discussion, no? With the pace or the
Yes.
speed what we are going?
Yeah.
So do you feel that I'm trying to say the same point again and again? Nothing like that, no?
No,
No.
nothing like that.
All
And
these scenarios are very practical, Chandra, because
Yeah.
I've experienced it, and it's like it's very important, and the time you're
Database
taking is, I
concept.
think, it's necessary.
Yes, yes. That's what I too feel, and that's why I want to cross check again. Nothing more than that. Okay then.
yeah.
I'll send you the document and recording. We'll meet on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yes.
7. Okay then.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chandra.
Yeah.